I think it's generally human nature to overestimate risk and underestimate opportunity.
When Jeff Bezos started Amazon in his garage in 1994, he didn't have a revolutionary product or groundbreaking technology. What he had was a principle, one so powerful that it transformed an online bookstore into a trillion-dollar company and made him one of the richest people on the planet. This principle wasn't about maximizing profits, crushing competition, or even technological innovation. It was much simpler, yet far more profound, an absolutely relentless focus on the customer. In today's video, I'll break down exactly how Bezos implemented customer obsession to build his empire, and more importantly, how you can apply this same principle to your business or career, whether you're running a small startup, working in a large corporation, or just starting your entrepreneurial journey. These are practical strategies that have created billions in value and can transform your approach starting today. If you're ready to learn the most valuable business lesson from one of history's most successful entrepreneurs, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway from customer obsession in your own business or work life. Now, let's dive into the business principle that built Bezos's $180 billion fortune. The origin of customer obsession. Bezos didn't stumble upon customer obsession by accident. It was a deliberate choice that came from his analytical understanding of how businesses create lasting value. The most important single thing is to focus obsessively on the customer. Bezos has stated repeatedly, "Our goal is to be Earth's most customer-centric company." This wasn't just pleasant corporate speak. From Amazon's earliest days, Bezos made decisions that seemed financially irrational in the short term, but served customers extraordinarily well. When investors and analysts questioned these choices, Bezos had a consistent response: "We're not focused on the short term." In his first letter to shareholders in 1997, a document now studied in business schools worldwide, Bezos made his position clear. "We will make bold rather than timid investment decisions where we see a sufficient probability of gaining market leadership advantages. Some of these investments will pay off, others will not, and we will have learned another valuable lesson in either case." What separated Bezos's approach from typical corporate customer service was his willingness to make substantial, long-term investments based on what customers would value, even when those investments didn't make immediate financial sense. The three pillars of Bezos's customer obsession. Bezos's customer obsession wasn't vague or philosophical. It was operationalized through three specific approaches that transformed Amazon and can be applied to any business. 1. Start with the customer and work backward. While most companies start with their capabilities or competitor analysis, Bezos insisted on a different approach. Start with what the customer needs and work backward to the solution. The best customer service is if the customer doesn't need to call you, doesn't need to talk to you. It just works, Bezos explains. This backward working process became formalized at Amazon through the now famous Working Backward document, a press release written before a product is even developed. Teams must write a hypothetical press release and FAQ announcing the finished product, focusing on the customer problem being solved and why the solution would delight customers. Only after this document meets a high bar for customer value does actual product development begin. This forces clarity about the customer benefit before engineering, design, or marketing begins. When Amazon was developing its Prime membership program, the team started with an ambitious customer promise: unlimited fast shipping for a flat annual fee, and then figured out how to make the economics work. Traditional business thinking would have calculated the costs first and then determined what could be offered profitably. If you're competitor-focused, you have to wait until there is a competitor doing something. Being customer-focused allows you to be more pioneering, Bezos notes. 2. Embrace long-term thinking. The second pillar of Bezos's approach is extraordinary patience and comfort with delayed financial gratification. We're willing to plant seeds and wait a long time for them to turn into trees, Bezos has said repeatedly. This long-term orientation allowed Amazon to invest in infrastructure, technology, and customer experience improvements that made no sense in a quarterly earnings context, but created massive competitive advantages over years. When Amazon launched Prime in 2005, it was an immediate money loser. The shipping costs far exceeded the $79 annual membership fee. Wall Street analysts criticized the program as financially irrational. But Bezos understood something more fundamental. Prime would transform customer behavior and create lasting loyalty. We've had 3 big ideas at Amazon that we've stuck with for 18 years, and they're the reason we're successful. Put the customer first. Invent. And be patient, Bezos explained at a 2012 event. The patience to invest in customer experience improvements without demanding immediate returns enabled Amazon to build insurmountable advantages. While competitors were optimizing for quarterly profits, Amazon was building customer loyalty that would generate returns for decades. 3. Measure what matters to customers. The third pillar is measuring success through customer-centric metrics rather than solely internal business metrics. The balance of power is shifting toward consumers and away from companies, Bezos observed early. The right way to respond to this if you are a company is to put the vast majority of your energy, attention, and dollars into building a great product or service and put a smaller amount into shouting about it, marketing it. At Amazon, teams focus obsessively on metrics like customer retention, frequency of purchases, reduction in customer effort, and other indicators that reflect genuine customer value, not just sales or margin percentages. Amazon even developed its own proprietary customer satisfaction metric called the Net Promoter Score, NPS, which measures how likely customers are to recommend Amazon to others. This metric directly influences executive compensation and team performance evaluation. When launching new products or services, Amazon pays particular attention to consumption metrics, not just whether customers buy something, but whether they actually use it and receive value from it. Low consumption triggers immediate investigation and improvement efforts, regardless of sales numbers. Good intentions don't work, but mechanisms do, Bezos often says. By creating measurement systems that detect gaps in customer experience, Amazon makes customer obsession operational rather than aspirational. How Bezos institutionalized customer obsession. Principles are only valuable when they're consistently implemented throughout an organization. Bezos created several mechanisms to ensure customer obsession wasn't just a slogan but a daily practice. The empty chair. Perhaps the most famous symbol of Amazon's customer focus is the empty chair that Bezos would bring to meetings. This chair represented the customer, the most important person in the room who wasn't physically present. Focusing on the customer makes a company more resilient, Bezos explains. During important meetings, executives were expected to consider how decisions would impact the person in that empty chair. When disagreements arose, the question became, what would be best for the customer, rather than what would be best for our department or quarterly numbers. This simple visual reminder helped maintain customer centricity even in internal discussions far removed from direct customer interaction. Customer anecdotes. While Amazon is known for its data-driven approach, Bezos also emphasized the importance of customer anecdotes and direct feedback. He personally forwarded customer complaint emails to relevant executives with just a question mark in the message. This simple question mark became dreaded within Amazon, as it required an immediate investigation and response explaining how the customer issue would be resolved. I still have my original email address. I get a fair amount of email. I see most of it. I don't answer very much of it anymore. Bezos has shared. But I read a lot of it, and I use my curiosity to pick out certain emails. This direct customer feedback loop prevented executives from becoming isolated from customer concerns, regardless of their position in the company. The two-pizza team rule. To maintain focus on customers rather than internal politics, Bezos implemented the famous two-pizza team rule. No team should be larger than can be fed with 2 pizzas, typically 5 to 7 people. Small teams could stay focused on specific customer problems without becoming distracted by coordination challenges or internal politics. Each team would have clear customer-focused metrics for which they were accountable. As companies get larger, there's a tendency to get more into process as opposed to results. You stop looking at outcomes and just make sure you're doing the process right, Bezos notes. The small team structure helped Amazon maintain its focus on customer outcomes even as the company grew enormous. The Bar Raiser Program. To ensure new hires would continue the customer obsession tradition, Amazon created the Bar Raiser Program. This hiring process requires that each candidate be evaluated not just by the hiring manager, but also by a trained bar raiser, someone from outside the team who assesses whether the candidate meets or exceeds Amazon's high standards. Bar raisers have veto power over any hire, regardless of how much the hiring manager wants the candidate. This ensures that Amazon consistently brings in people who will maintain its culture of high standards and customer focus. If you want to hire better people, raise your standards, Bezos insists. Implementing customer obsession in your business. The principles that built Amazon can be applied to businesses of any size. Here's how to implement Bezos's customer obsession in your own context. Start with customer problems, not your solutions. The thing that connects everything that Amazon does is starting with the customer and working backward, Bezos explains. Before developing products or services, deeply research customer pain points. Document specific customer problems you intend to solve before designing solutions. Ask, what is the customer unable to do now? What frustrates them about current alternatives? What would an ideal solution look like from their perspective? This research should extend beyond surveys to include direct observation of customers using existing products or services. Bezos was famous for noting that customers are always beautifully, wonderfully dissatisfied. There's always room for improvement if you look closely enough. Make investments your competitors won't. Customer obsession often requires making investments that seem financially dubious in the short term but create lasting advantages over time. When Amazon invested billions in building warehouses across the country for faster shipping, the immediate impact was a massive hit to profitability. But the long-term result was a fulfillment network competitors couldn't match. Look for opportunities to make similar investments in your business. What service improvement would customers value that seems financially challenging? What long-term infrastructure would create lasting advantages? Where could you reduce short-term profits to increase long-term customer loyalty? We've done price elasticity studies, and the answer is always that we should raise prices, Bezos once noted. We don't do that because we believe, and we have to take this as an article of faith, that by keeping our prices very low, we earn trust with customers over time, and that actually does maximize free cash flow over the long term. Create mechanisms, not intentions. Good intentions don't work. Mechanisms do, is one of Bezos's core beliefs. Rather than simply declaring customer obsession important, create specific mechanisms that enforce it. Develop customer-focused metrics that directly impact compensation and promotion. Create processes that begin with documenting customer needs before solution development. Implement regular customer feedback reviews at the highest levels of the organization. Ensure executives regularly experience your product or service as customers would at Amazon. One such mechanism was the Just Do It award, given to employees who took initiative to solve customer problems without waiting for permission. This celebrated and reinforced the desired behavior. Prioritize customer experience over competitor moves. If we can keep our competitors focused on us while we stay focused on the customer, ultimately we'll turn out all right, Bezos advises. Instead of reacting to competitor moves, make decisions based on what would most improve the customer experience. This often means ignoring industry norms or competitor practices. When competitors lowered book prices on bestsellers only, Amazon lowered prices across its catalog. When competitors added features customers rarely used, Amazon focused on making core functions faster and more reliable. This customer-first approach allows you to pioneer categories rather than merely competing within existing frameworks. Measure what matters to customers. Our success at Amazon is a function of how many experiments we do per year, per month, per week, per day, Bezos explains. Create measurement systems that detect real customer value, not just business metrics. Track customer retention and repeat purchase behavior. Measure reduction in customer effort, clicks, time, frustration. Monitor product returns and customer service contacts. Survey customers about their likelihood to recommend your product at Amazon. Teams are required to present customer-centric metrics first in any business review. Financial metrics come second, reinforcing the primacy of customer outcomes. Common objections to customer obsession. While customer obsession created enormous value for Amazon, it's not without its critics or challenges. Let's address some common objections. Customer obsession is too expensive. Critics argue that Amazon's approach works only because of its access to capital markets that funded years of losses. Bezos would counter that customer obsession isn't about spending more. It's about making different trade-offs. Amazon remained frugal in areas invisible to customers, like office furnishings and executive perks, while investing heavily in customer-facing improvements. Frugality drives innovation, just like other constraints do, Bezos notes. One of the only ways to get out of a tight box is to invent your way out. Every business can make similar trade-offs, redirecting resources from areas customers don't value to those they do. Our shareholders demand short-term profits. Public companies often cite shareholder pressure as a reason for short-term focus. Bezos addressed this head-on in his first shareholder letter. We will continue to make investment decisions in light of long-term market leadership considerations rather than short-term profitability considerations or short-term Wall Street reactions. He then consistently educated investors about Amazon's long-term approach, attracting shareholders who shared this philosophy while encouraging short-term thinkers to invest elsewhere. If you're long-term oriented, customer interests and shareholder interests are aligned, Bezos explains. Even private businesses can educate stakeholders about the lasting value of customer-focused investments. Our industry is different. Some argue that customer obsession works in retail or technology, but not in their industry. Bezos would disagree. I can't imagine that there is any set of customers anywhere that wouldn't like lower prices, better selection, and faster delivery. I just can't imagine it. The specific implementation of customer obsession may vary by industry, but the fundamental principle applies universally. Every business ultimately succeeds by creating value for customers. The business impact of customer obsession. The results of Bezos's approach speak for themselves. Amazon grew from an online bookstore to one of the world's most valuable companies. It expanded successfully into diverse businesses from cloud computing to entertainment. Customer loyalty metrics like Prime membership and repeat purchases reached unprecedented levels. The company survived multiple economic downturns while competitors failed. Amazon consistently ranks among the most trusted brands globally. What's particularly noteworthy is how customer obsession created value in unexpected ways. AWS, now Amazon's most profitable division, began as an internal solution to Amazon's own computing needs. By focusing on solving real problems for their internal customers, Amazon's development teams, they built infrastructure that external customers found equally valuable. If you do build a great experience, customers tell each other about that. Word of mouth is very powerful, Bezos notes. This organic growth through customer advocacy is far more efficient than traditional marketing approaches. In conclusion, the true power of Bezos's customer obsession lies in its sustainability as a competitive advantage. While products can be copied, technology surpassed, and prices matched, the organizational culture and mechanisms that consistently prioritize customers are extraordinarily difficult to replicate. The customer experience bar gets raised every day, and you have to keep working to surpass it. There's no good enough. It's a journey with no end, Bezos explains. This journey has led Amazon to continued success even as the business landscape has changed dramatically over nearly 3 decades. While technological revolutions have upended many businesses, Amazon's customer-centric approach provided a North Star that guided the company through transitions. As Bezos himself puts it, if you want to be successful in business, in life, actually, you have to create more than you consume. Your goal should be to create value for everyone you interact with. Any business that doesn't create value for those it touches, even if it appears successful on the surface, isn't long for this world. This philosophy, creating authentic value for customers rather than extracting value from them, is perhaps the most transferable lesson from Bezos's extraordinary career. It's a principle that can guide businesses of any size, in any industry, toward sustainable success. The next time you face a difficult business decision, consider bringing an empty chair into the room. Ask what the customer sitting in that chair would want. Then, like Bezos, have the courage to act accordingly, even when conventional business wisdom suggests otherwise.